Hi folks, welcome back. And in this short video, I want to introduce you to two books that I just finished reading, and I think you'll find them fascinating, especially if you enjoy history or if you've been following South Africa for a while. As a country, it has gotten into news quite a bit for its intervention in the Gaza genocide. And for those of you who are interested, I think this would be, these books would offer you an insight into the country's own struggles with apartheid and how the processes unfolded that brought country freedom from its white minority rule, which the Afrikaners ruled for over 350 years, right? Almost, I would say, double the British colonization of India. So let me quickly introduce you to two books. And of course, there are several dozens of other good books which you can pick up. But these two are, I think, in some ways classics. I encourage you to even buy them. The first one is this Long Walk to Freedom, and I will provide a link to both of these in the description. So Long Walk to Freedom is an autobiography of Nelson Mandela, and is really a deep dive into the mind of the person who was credited as leading South Africa to its freedom. Of course, there are other leaders you will meet in this. There were a lot of South Africans of indigenous South Africans. There were South Africans of Indian heritage. There were South Africans who were also white, who struggled with Mandela and his group of leaders, and the people from ANC and other parties that contributed to the freedom struggle, right? So what makes this book unique is, again, as I said, the evolution of Mandela's thinking on social justice, on equality, and the rights of the natives to live with freedom, right? So just so you get the context, what were they struggling against? They were struggling against a society and government which did not allow them to vote, right? So even though blacks were in majority, they could not vote. So apartheid literally means to be separated, right? So blacks were separated, pretty much like segregation in the US, for those of you who are Americans. And these laws were extremely oppressive, very restrictive. For instance, I was shocked to read that even to travel to certain parts of South Africa, blacks needed permission, right? So they needed a book, sort of a passbook, which needed entry from the local police, and they could ban people from traveling to other places, especially if they're politically active or involved in subversive activities. So right from his days as son of a chief, in the Xhosa tribe, to being a young lawyer, to then representing blacks, and then really becoming involved in the freedom struggle through the ANC, and then his eventual imprisonment in Robben Island, and finally his release and negotiations with the National Party, which is the white majority party led by the Afrikaners, is really fascinating. I again strongly encourage you to get this book, read it, to get into the higher principles which guided these leaders, and how they're all human, they're all frail with their weaknesses. So it really comes out that here is a person who is genuinely interested in the welfare of his country, of his people, and worked hard to include everybody. So I think that's the message that I took away, is to forgive at a certain level, to struggle, keep your principles in mind, and eventually, justice will be served. That's one of the bigger lessons. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. The second book I want to introduce you is called The Anatomy of a Miracle. It's by Patty Waldmeyer, who's a journalist, I believe, with the Wall Street Journal. She spent significant time in Africa. And really, this book is slightly different in that there are more characters at play. So she has interviewed a lot of the leaders of the both sides, the ANC as well as the National Party, including F.D. Clark, who was the president when Mandela was imprisoned, and then became his deputy president, and she has really mapped out the power struggles, the key players, the key incidents. So that's how she has organized this book, and really laid out and give you a map to think of how did this miracle come about, right? How did the country ruled by a white minority for 350 years, how did it become free? similar to, you could say, freedom movements of other countries, right? So you will see parallels. Again, South Africa is exceptional in some ways. Every country is exceptional in its own unique way, but there are also universalities, right? Things that apply to all countries in certain ways, and all empires, like especially if it's a colonial empire. So how does the sort of colonial settler state be forced to become inclusive, be forced to acknowledge that there are majorities of people who are native to the land that deserve recognition, that deserve power, that deserve economic access, and denying people those is not going to work in the long run, right? That's the other message I took away from the second book. So together, I think these are a great read. I have the habit of reading several books at a time, but I was happy to read these two in parallel and almost finish them at the same time. So once again, hope you enjoyed this. If you have any other books that you'd like to recommend, please drop a comment, or if you like these, let me know what you think. Thank you.